Yeah, good morning, boys and girls. I woke up this morning. I need a haircut. I need a shave. And then I think about my former career. Angry, I am. Yeah, I am. I spent a lifetime in policing, along with many other colleagues across the country. Came into policing in the 60s, left in the 90s. But then I look at today and the shocking, bloody state that a Home Secretary created way back in 2011. So we're looking at two-tier policing crisis and the failure that created it, ladies and gentlemen. And I am angry to think that not only when I retired, but my former colleagues across the country who belong to the Federation of lower rank are no longer with us, hope to have left something behind, to be nurtured for the nation in policing in the right way, being the consent of the public, not by a bloody Home Secretary that has screwed this country beyond recognition of policing. It's time that these people were banished from our society. You know, this business of electing somebody and they seem to have an open checkbook to do as they bloody please. And there's no defence. They go off and do what they want. And we all sit back and whinge and moan. It's such whimsical narratives that's been created. So I've got a speech that I obviously need to read because I'd written this morning and I need to express myself in the only way, being the age I am as an elder. First and foremost, I want to apologise to the 16 and under 30s. Our lads out there today, I'm sick and tired of seeing these youngsters being left without a sensible direction of work, of play. And then you've got to question their kind of parents they've got. Why is there no bloody direction? What are these parents up to? What are they doing? You've got young women out there today with children and they treat their daughters like bloody friends. They try and dress the same as their daughters. The whole bloody world's become a nutcase. It's easy to get excitable about the nonsense that we obviously endure in Britain today, especially the UK. I speak today with urgency because the truth about policing in the United Kingdom can no longer be softened, hidden, or politely ignored. Our police service, once a gold standard of policing by consent, has been dragged into the political storm created by people who possessed no policing craft, no operational knowledge, no understanding of the realities faced by the rank and file of the constable and sergeant on the street working a bloody beat, not a neighbourhood fanciful, because these are a new breed. They're like the Gurkhas. They take no prisoners. They sit and have little cups of tea, gossip. They do nothing out there to solve the crimes that are being committed. This is not a matter of opinion, it's a matter of a lived experience that I lived more than a decade ago. Policing was reshaped by political decisions made far from the beat by individuals who had never walked it. The creation of the College of Policing was not a professional necessity. It was a political intervention engineered by someone who had never served a single day on the front line. It replaced national policing, improvement agency, an organisation built on real operational expertise, with a body built on academic ideology, civil service theory. It's time that that was destroyed. The civil service needs to be revamped. You've got traitors in the ranks who are doing and being disruptive. And strategic policies need to be looked at. The posturing that goes on. This was a moment policing shifted from craft-led to an ideology-led incompetence, and the consequences have been devastating. The College of Policing became a home for people who could write papers about policing but could never work a beat. People who could design frameworks but could never handle a Friday night in the city centre. I've been there, so have my colleagues. We never had van loads of support. We got on and done the job ourselves, because you never were a bull in a china shop. You had a background of working knowledge and you acted sensibly. You communicated sensibly in the English language. Not all this effing and blinding that we see today. You know, I mean, it's a grow-up time. It's a real time. And many of those in lower rank today that are on the street are farcical creatures. They're not going to be in the job for the next 30-odd years. It's a pastime for some of them. And then, of course, after 5 or 10 years or whatever, you know, for somehow they find a worker, worm their way out of service. And, of course, you know, they're full of excuses. They've never done the bloody job. They're useless bloody people. And you look at the television today and see what's going on out there on the street. Bloody hell. I mean, you know, personally, of what it's like to go into a building and make arrests of adults, not children, not one, more than one, but you do it the only way you know how, is to communicate in the manner and the consent of the people and the way the service has been designed. If you go in like a bull in a china shop, you are going to get Third World War. But know your beat, know the people. Communicate to where you should be when on the beat, so that when you have these adventures in finding a burglary being committed and you find possibly local old Tom, Dick or Harry was responsible, then you communicate with Tom, Dick and Harry, as I experienced many times over. And so are my colleagues, but I'm angry to think that those that are not with us today gave the best of their bloody lives to public service. And we've got a motley bloody crew out there in management that have screwed this top and bottom. People could speak of evidence-based practice, but could never face the evidence of a violent offender in a dark alley. People who could analyse behaviour in theory, but could never read a suspect's eyes in time. Let me be clear, many within the College of Policing would struggle to work a beat. Believe me, they would find it tough today, not because they lack intelligence, but they lack the craft of policing. It's gone out the window for all this fancy ideology. You know, everyone's got to be a bloody academic. I mean, academics are bloody useless in policing. What are you playing at? You know, it's like going to Disney and finding everyone's escaped. You've got Mickey Mouse running around out there. You know, you've got Popeye and his old missus, Olive. They're on spinach, trying to recover from a night's work. Craft cannot be taught in a classroom. Craft is earned through danger, judgment, and experience. When you come into policing, like I saw and like I did, as an apprentice, being a craftsman in your own right, but I worked with many, and they came from military times as well, during from this last war, through Korea, and many of them had skills and trades, and they were able to amplify the work they did on the street. And while this academic tier grew in influence, in the front line tier, the constables, sergeants, detectives, and neighbourhood officers were pushed aside. Their knowledge is dismissed, their judgment was downgraded, their experience is labelled, and their voice was silenced. This is how two-tier policing was born. One tier, the frontline men and women who carry the burden of public safety, who face the real dangers on the street. Uphold the law, who understands policing because they live it. On the front, the other tier, a self-appointment, elite chief officers chasing academic status, political favour, managerial prestige, leaders who embraced ideology over experience, frameworks and judgment, and optics over efficiency, and being effective in the line of policing. Leaders who forgot that policing is not a theory, it's a craft. And let's speak plainly, chief officers who supported this ideological shift are culpable to the mess we've got today. And I'm making it quite clear. There are many chief officers who would find it very difficult. Many would be bloody frightened to walk the streets. They can sit there with their shirts all bloody ironed and stiffened, all clean and prim and proper, like a fairy on a bloody Christmas tree. You know, at the end of the day, where is the skills in the chief officers' academy of common sense, of sovereignty of this country? You're bloody brain dead, most of you. You can't do the job. Culpable for allowing policing to be reshaped by people who never policed, and many of those in senior rank have never done and worked a beat beyond their 2 years, if they had 2 years on the beat, because many of them were in such a bloody rush for the promotion ladder, they fell over on their asses, some of them. They couldn't get up. So they're like cuckoos. They pushed others to one side just to get a sacrifice for themselves in being able to be out there and to look, oh, I'm an academic. You know, it's all bullshit. Culpable for surrendering the operational authority to academic doctrine. Culpable for abandoning the rank and file in favour of political alignment. Their compliance helped create a culture where policing became a political football, kicked back and forth by ministers, by these stupid advisors. I mean, who are these people? They're anonymous. They've done nothing in bloody lives. They're like pimples on your back, aren't they? You need to give it a good scratch now and again. And then, of course, you've got the theorists who saw policing not as a public service, but as a reform project. You know, again, you're dealing with cuckoos, people that just do not have the common sense to understand that policing is by consent and the sovereignty of the people. Too many people are elected into places of authority, terrified they're going to get asked about this, that, and the other. They duck and dive, just like this guy Burnham at the moment. And he's on the run. Is he doing a bloody marathon or what? You never see the guy. You know, an old Starmer, well, look at him. I mean, he loved his trips abroad, didn't he? You look at his passport, it ought to be in the Guinness Book of Bloody Records. How many times has that man, in that period of time he was Prime Minister, been abroad? And what are these people abroad saying about him at the same level of being a president or a politician of some description or a prime minister? Then came the removal in policing of 20,000 officers, largest cut in modern UK history. This was a whimsical personal ideology. It was not about practicalities. It was a cowardly way of doing things. Neighbourhood policing collapsed because, as I said before, it's about being a bloody Gurkha. They take no bloody prisoners. You know, you people are so bloody stupid. And as I say, for the Home Secretary, you know, to me, you're in the gutter. I don't care who you are, but you need to be made accountable for the bloody mess you've got this country in today. The response time stretched, morale fell, crime opportunities expanded, public trust eroded, and while communities struggled, policing was further politicalised through the introduction of police and crime commissioners, turning policing priorities into a campaign slogan, injecting party politics into operational oversight. So policing has become a political bloody tool. It's created all this diversity. You've got police officers out there today that are bloody gormless. They're bloody clueless about how to do the job. They just love telling people off. Oh, you know, pity, pity, pity. Patter, patter, patter. They're full again of crap, total crap. This is not about policing by consent, as it should, to survive for the people. This is how policing by consent breaks. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is simple. Policing has been weakened because it's taken away from those who knew how to do it. The College of Policing did not strengthen policing, it did not modernise, it did not preferentially policing. No, the professionalising, it never existed. It politicised policing, it destabilised policing, it damaged policing. Those responsible, the political architects, the academic theorists, the compliant chief officers should stand in shame for what they have caused to the public mainstream. You know, when you look at Sir Robert Peel and those that brought policing into the modern extremes of life that we all knew it in the last century, the public deserves better. The rank and file deserves better. Democracy deserves better. It's time to restore policing to its rightful foundation. Craft over ideology. experience over theory, judgment over bureaucracy, public consent over political interference. And as I said before, this business of one person being able to do and to create such devastation to an organisation like the police service, where you've got millions of people and one person has an open checkbook to destroy the infrastructure that we've come to live with. And that person needs to stand in shame. I regard that as a traitor, not something that's worth home to write home about. Really should be absolutely bloody ashamed, because there's no reason to cut 20,000 officers. It's crap, total crap. And sadly, when you look at the mess we've got today with AI, cybercrime, the cloud, that came into existence 20 years ago. And that's a big comfort to criminals, because it gives them the right to destroy the lives of people. Because this government, like all the other governments we've had in the last 26 years of this century, have screwed the people. They've not invested in protecting the nation. But you've got these individuals that are played in Toy Town. And sadly, that's the bloody mess we've got today. And to me, it's criminal, big time criminal, because it's easy to do the job when you know how, when you've been taught by those who've got the experience to be adequate in being a teacher, being a tutor, to take you on the street for 2 years, teaching you how to have the craft and understanding and the knowledge of being a real, true police officer that works a beat with the consent of the people. And I'm saying the College of Policing should be scrapped. They are the cause of the problems we've got today, and I don't care who's sitting in the chair at the College of Policing. They've had a real comfortable bloody life. They've done nothing at all, and they do not have the experience or the knowledge to work a beat for a whole month on shift work, working nights, going to punch-ups, dealing with sudden deaths, fatal accidents, going into post-mortems. It's not something to be proud of. But I've been there as part of my work, as a serving officer of the time, with a child, with an elderly person, with someone that's been subject to a sudden death or a fatal accident. But you work with a pathologist. You're the officer in the case, so you go with a mortician. But it's not something that you write home about. You know what's inside us all. But it's not just about the carcass of a body on a slab. It's about that person. Who was that person? The family. Who loved that person? What capabilities that person had. But of course, it's totally different today. I doubt if there's many that actually do post-mortems in service today, because they're bubble wrapped, aren't they? You get a slap across the wrist. Oh, you naughty boy, you naughty girl. But as I said before, I've done my bit. I'm angry to think that many of my former colleagues are not here today. But thankfully, they're unaware of the bloody mess that's been created by the idiocies of a Home Secretary. And I thank you very much if you do listen, because it is about two-tier policing. Get rid of the police college. It's shambolic. And believe it or not, the amount of money that's costing would put police officers on the street for the next 5 or 10 years. You don't realise how many officers could be employed for the cost of that diversity, that brethrance. But again, as I say, thank you very much. And I'm sorry it's 25 minutes now into this, so I don't know if many of you are going to listen to it. But if you do, perhaps you'll understand my feelings, my thoughts. And yes, I need a haircut, I need a shave, and I'm angry to think that I possibly have wasted the best years of my life in a public service that's being destroyed bit by bit by bit by bit by idiocies in politics. Thank you.